Welcome to Serving Pancakes with League One Volleyball. I'm your host, Tiffany Oshinsky, and I'm inviting you to join me as I go behind the scenes with some of the most important people in volleyball. From funny anecdotes to words of wisdom and some fun facts sprinkled in about your favorite sport, Serving Pancakes will satiate your appetite and have you asking for seconds. So take a seat while I serve you up some pancakes. Hey, come on in. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
How are you? So good to see you. Thanks for coming over and having some pancakes and chat.
Delicious.
Yeah, so we got to start with, obviously, the pancakes. Are you a pancake fan?
Big fan, yeah.
Yeah, so what's your go-to?
I would say chocolate chip.
Well, we have chocolate chips. Okay, so I want you, we do have it all, right? All the fruit, the Nutella, the syrup, the butter, everything. So I want you to design your own pancake right now. What are you going to do? Just chocolate chips, or do you think you're going to add a few other things?
Oh, no, I'm going to add some other things, too. Well, let's start with some butter.
Ooh, yes, that is butter. I love it. I think you're kind of the first one to come on to actually put the butter on.
Really?
Yeah, I love butter. Did you ever create, like, chocolate chip pancakes and design, put, like, faces or something with the chocolate chips while you're making them?
No, but I would make, like, Minnie Mouse growing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But not with the chocolate chips, with the actual pancakes.
Did you use, like, a cookie cutter thing, or did you just do, like, big glob little
No, I
globs?
grew up with, like a Minnie Mouse, actually, pancake form. I guess waffle former, but pancake.
They're all
same.
almost
It's all
the same.
Almost. But
Pretty close.
yeah, pretty close. But I do like getting a little creative with it.
Well, speaking of growing up, what did you want to be when you grew up before you knew about volleyball?
Well, I think I always grew up wanting to be a mom first.
Really?
Yeah,
That's so sweet.
I grew up with a younger sister who's 10 years younger than me.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, throughout high school, everything, I just was really excited to be a mom. Of course, not in that time, in that moment. And I was looking forward to it the most. I feel like that's what, when I'm asked what my dream job is, I always say, being a mom.
So since you were 10 years older, did you find yourself babysitting her a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Babysitting, and also she was just around all the time. Like, I would be hanging out with my friends downstairs, and Caroline was behind the couch, like, you know, always creeping on us.
Did you ever get annoyed? So my sister is 6 years older than me, so there were many times
So
where...
you were the one behind the couch?
Yes, where little Tiff would come in when she was with her boyfriend or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Get out, get out.
Yeah, we had those moments too, but it's fun. I mean, now she's 18, and it's fun to see her grow up too, because I feel like I'll always remember her as like 10-year-old Caroline, or she was actually the ball girl for my college team, and so I would like dive on the floor and kind of sweat, and she would come and wipe it up, and she'd be like, "Hey, good job," and then run off.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, we have a lot of sweet memories together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did she play?
She did a little bit in high school, but not beyond that. So.
Didn't follow in her sister's footsteps.
No.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. We do it for fun still, and that's what matters, I guess.
So when did you get into volleyball then?
Oh, I started when I was in 4th grade. So, yeah, I was probably 10 years old when I really got into it.
How did you get introduced to it? Was it something that your school did, or was it something that someone, said, hey, you would be good at this?
I moved from Arizona to Minnesota, and all the outdoor sports I was doing in Arizona couldn't really translate to Minnesota weather. So,
what sports did you do? Sorry,
I was like, I was pretty young, so I was in almost all the like soccer, swimming, tennis, most of the outdoor sports. I didn't play volleyball there, and then I moved to Minnesota. My older sister started playing. She's 2 years older than me, and I just kind of followed in her footsteps and started playing. And that's how I got into it. Oh, nice. Nobody in my family, like my mom didn't play, my dad didn't play, but fell in love with it really quick. My dad actually was a huge reason I played as much, and fell in love with the sport. We would play for hours on our driveway, and he would create drills because me and my sister were really close in age, and so we would just play all the time. And even I'd come home from practice and I'd be like, "Dad, let's go out and play." Like, I just loved it.
That's so sweet. Do you still play with your dad?
On vacations and stuff, I'm not around as much because they're still in Minnesota, but yeah, we'll always bring a ball to the beach if we're on vacation or kind of mess around. He's not moving as well anymore, but I'm just kidding.
But you're,
I said that.
Well, let's be honest, right? You are one of the top players in the nation, right? You can pass it perfectly to him anytime you need to.
The last time I played with him, actually, we were playing on the beach, and I served a ball at him, and he like went up to take it, and then came off and was like, I broke my finger. His finger was like,
no.
Yeah, so he taking a little break. So. Yeah, it was good.
Well, forever memory, right?
Yeah, I guess seriously, it's like forever like this. You would have had to get surgery to actually get it fixed.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was like, sorry. Dad, I think it's only right that leave my mark somehow. I'll always remember it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So when did you know that volleyball was going to be your sport, that you were above average and better than a lot of other players?
Good question. I think in high school, I was pushed a lot. Even my freshman year of high school, the varsity coach came up to me and was like, you could really help us on varsity. And I was like, what? Because I had just played with my my city wasn't little, but I wasn't in club yet or anything. So I just didn't really know, I guess, my potential, because I didn't have a lot to compare it to, basically. But so he put a lot of confidence in me, and I made varsity my freshman year and then played my 4 years there. But I still was like, I don't know if I want to go Division I. I was in my head, I don't know why, but I had it in my head that I would lose my college experience if I played Division I volleyball, which in some ways it affects or it changes your experience, but it doesn't make it go away. So it wasn't until my sophomore year of high school where I started looking at colleges, and I was like, I can actually do this. And I went on a couple of visits, and yeah, so it was not just I didn't know my potential right in one moment. It definitely took some time.
So what made you then decide on Minnesota?
Well, I'm from Minnesota, but I actually have kind of a unique recruiting experience. I was the tea. I was committed to Wisconsin I committed there the summer after my sophomore year of high school, and at the time Minnesota never really recruited me because they had someone my position on scholarship, so I didn't have. I didn't even go and look because they didn't have a scholarship available. And that was a goal of mine, was to try to get a scholarship. So I didn't even look at Minnesota, and I toured Wisconsin and loved that school. And it's a beautiful school. The volleyball program was definitely growing, and I knew a lot of the girls that were there. And so it seemed like a good fit. I have a lot of family in Madison also. And so then I committed there. But then about a year and a half later, Minnesota, something happened with the girl that was committed there, and she decided not to go to Minnesota anymore. And it was one of those situations where I was like, I don't want to regret not even looking, just because, Minnesota's my home, right, and my family's all there. And for sure through high school, I was getting I was just really getting close with my family. Not that I wasn't before, but it just felt like the right thing to do to at least go and visit. So it was a little bit of a unique experience to then have to go to my Wisconsin coach and be like, I'm not ready to sign to commit fully written commitment, whatever. And those were hard conversations to have. And I remember my dad helped me through it a lot, because I was like, I don't know how to handle it. Yeah, I was 16 or something, making a huge decision. And I knew it was affecting other people if I decommitted. And so it was just really heavy emotionally. But then, I went to Minnesota, and it was one of those things where I just knew when I got there that this is where I was meant to be. So then I decommitted from Wisconsin and committed to Minnesota. And those are rivals. Minnesota. It was a unique experience, but...
Well, so before you got to Minnesota, you played on Northern Lights club team, and your team was really good.
Yeah.
One of the best in the country. So what was it like playing at that level? Did it help you when it came to eventually moving to the college level?
Definitely. And I had girls on my team, a lot of Division I girls were committed, and a lot of them were actually committed to Minnesota. And so that was a fun experience to then go into my freshman year. I knew 2 of my 3 roommates. I knew girls that were coming in also the year after me. And there's a lot of comfort in that too, as you step into this new huge experience to have some familiarity and some friends. And the level of volleyball also was you're playing some of the best teams, high school teams, but still some of the best like athletes at the club level. So definitely helped me, move on.
And I saw that your club team got to play in Italy. Mm-hmm. So what was that experience like? Because you were, 17, 18?
Yeah, that was that was one of my first times abroad. And I think all the other times I was with, like, my parents. So it's just a different experience going with some of your best friends. And it's crazy to think about now because I've played, like, so many years overseas. And I've really been able to actually live over there, not just visit. But in that moment, I was, like, I was just, stunned and shocked the whole time looking around at that side of the world because I had never been outside of the States. And so it was a cool experience also to go through it. Like, we were going for volleyball, which, again, like, volleyball has brought me so many places in the world. But, to try new foods, to talk with people who don't speak English. Like, it was just a really good learning experience also for someone in high school and a privilege. I don't think a lot of people get that chance. So I was thankful for it.
So your team actually won that tournament, and I saw it was like the second American team to ever win that tournament, which is insane. So, I mean, what's going through your mind being, in another country and just dominating and winning the tournament? Was it just kind of shocking to you, or did you guys go in being like, no, we got this?
Honestly, I feel like we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. Like, I just remember showing up and being like, oh, we're playing all these teams. We didn't know the quality of the teams or the athletes that were there necessarily, but that's kind of, I think that's a good way to go into a tournament where you don't have any expectations, and then you are really just worrying about your side of the net. You're not worrying so much about who's on the other side. And I remember one of the first teams we played just really brought it to us. Like, they were a really strong team, but it took that moment to then, okay, we regrouped, and I think we came back stronger in, like, the playoff games and things like that and ended up winning. So it was a good learning experience and the first little taste of, like, overseas volleyball, international volleyball. So
that's awesome. Now, when you got to Minnesota, I read that you sort of started off kind of like a lamb, but you left as a lion.
That's sweet.
It was in the paper. So I wanted to ask, how did you go from kind of being quiet and shy to becoming a leader for your team?
I think it goes back to that potential question. Like, I feel like when I got there my freshman year, I just didn't know what I could do, really. And I had definitely a perfectionist mindset going into college, but then you get humbled really quick when you're in that environment because there's girls, like, I was used to playing club with girls who were all the same age as me. And then stepping into a Division I program where you're playing with seniors who have 3 years of experience, and they're these, like, big names, and they've, like, really grown up and helped the program achieve what it's achieved in the past. It was, like, a lot to walk into. And so I had a lot of fear around competition. I think I was wanting to always, be perfect, and that's just not realistic. And I think as I got older and matured, and also my coach was really good technically. Like, he taught me a lot about, like, we broke down my approach, footwork, we broke down my arm swing, and I had never really had that kind of coaching when I was young. And so I think by my senior year, things really clicked into place, and I played with a lot more freedom. I remember there were games when I was young, or like my first couple of years, where if my warm-ups weren't good, I knew that, like, my match was going to be bad, just based off of, like, feeling. Whereas I feel like now if I whiff it in warm-ups, I'm like, oh, warm-ups are for warm-ups, like, they're not going to define, it's not going to define the whole game. But that was, a lot of it was because I was young, but also just naive. Like, I didn't know, I hadn't experienced it. And so, it got better as the years went on.
Do you still consider yourself kind of, soft-spoken, a little more reserved?
Yes, definitely. I would say I've realized I'm more of an extrovert than an introvert in the last years. Like, I think just being overseas, we spend a lot of time alone, and it's hard to be alone all of the time. And so I think, as I've gotten older, it's like my people. Like I love being around my people. So I'm like an introvert, extrovert, I would say.
I can see that. I'm a extroverted introvert.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird to think because I'm, hosting this. But,
You're really good at it.
Thanks. But I do consider myself a bit of an extroverted introvert. I do like my space.
Yeah.
I am an inside cat, as they call it.
I love it.
So for people like you who are soft-spoken and, don't always tend to gravitate towards that leadership position, what kind of advice do you have for them, for the girls who, are going through the sport, or any athlete going through a sport like that?
Yeah, I feel like I would tell my freshman self that I don't need to be anyone different than me. And for me, it's a lot of like, I'm someone who might lead by example more than I'm going to be leading by like words or hoorah. Like I'm going to really focus on working my hardest and focusing on the things that I can control. And I think my senior year, I was a leader on the team, but I still wasn't that like vocal leader, but I like was able to lead in my own way. And so just embracing who you are. And I know it's not easy, especially when you're young, you want to maybe step into roles that are, and it's good to be pushed out of your comfort zone, of course, but I think when I get in my flow, when I'm competing, it's definitely when I'm just being who I am, and that's, more leading by example than the hoorah.
Yeah.
Or like the pep talk and the timeout kind of player. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of leading by example, you look at your college stats and they're absolutely amazing. And you are a 6th rotation player. You can serve, you can dig, you can hit. I mean, everything. So, what was your favorite thing to do on the court?
Surprisingly, I actually loved blocking, and I still do. I remember there were games in college where I was just really able to like positively influence our team by having good block touches and getting some stuffs. And that's like one of the parts of the game that's a huge momentum shift. Yes. Because it's like we get the point, but then also they like it's usually on an error from their attacker or someone, so it can really shift the momentum, and I love that part of it. I also just love attacking. Minnesota, we ran a super fast offense, and with the USA national team, we also run a really fast offense, and it's just fun to find unique ways to score. And
well, as a 5'3¼ person, blocking is not my specialty, but I did love attacking when I had a chance to play outside.
Yeah, I bet.
That was my favorite.
Yeah, I love that.
So before I get into your professional career a little bit and post college, you met your husband in college, correct? So how did that come about?
We met through a ministry called Athletes in Action, and I went to University of Minnesota, and he went to a Division II school, like an hour and a half away. And there was this camp about like learning to apply your faith to your sport. And that's where I met him. We just like got to know each other, and then we stayed in touch through that ministry, and started dating like a year and a half later. He was a huge part of my senior year. I feel like he was at almost every game. It was also his senior year, and he played football. But his games were on Saturdays, and a lot of our games were like Saturday night. So he would come to the games, and he was super supportive. And it was also nice to have this, I think my senior year, I had a really strong senior year, and I credit a lot of that to my faith and learning to like navigate where my identity was. And I think the first couple of years, my identity was definitely in my sport. Like I was saying earlier, I just needed to be perfect. And, but then once that shifted and I knew that I'm Sarah, I'm not necessarily Sarah the volleyball player, like that was really freeing to me. And I think Jameson, my husband, helped a lot.
What was going through his mind when you decided that you were going to go play professionally overseas?
It was a big conversation for us because he was pursuing football a little bit professionally. He had some pro camps and things like that, but we knew that we wanted to be together, and we were engaged. And I was in Italy my first year, and kind of halfway through that year, he was like, I think I'm going to stop pursuing football. And that was a huge deal for him and for us because he really, really he loved sports and he loved being an athlete. And he kind of switched gears and then went into the support role and learned to love volleyball too. And so then we decided that I think my my role or my job was a little bit more stable. Like I had contracts and I like knew where I was going to be for the year, whereas professional football is you could be anywhere and you could be changing like every month. It's just, especially when you're first starting out, it can be really chaotic. And so for us, we decided it was best for him to stop pursuing, and then he came with me for our first 3 years of marriage.
So it's nice that you had the support system, because a lot of the girls I talk to about playing abroad talk about this culture shock, about, being in another country, most of them alone.
Yeah.
So did you find that having him kind of limited that culture shock, or did you both kind of still experience that?
Yeah, I think, so my first year we were apart, and that's when I experienced the culture shock, especially like the time change is really what would get me, because I would be like, it would be 4 p.m. and I would just be starting like saying good morning to Jameson or like my family, and so I would spend basically all day without talking to anybody. And as I'm like transitioning from college to professional, it's just a different style of play. It's a lot more intense, and when you don't have like school or anything else to worry about, it's really like you're just playing your sport. That can also be a really hard mental shift. I think you have a lot of outlets in college. You have your friends, your family, you have school. Like there's a lot of distractions that kind of take you away from the sport. But then when you're playing professionally and you're overseas by yourself, it's like you and the sport, basically.
Right.
You're like in the gym or you're in your apartment. And so I did experience a culture shock. But then when Jameson came with me, we were in Germany, and I think that year it's a little bit easier to live in Germany. Like a lot of people speak English. We were in Stuttgart, a big city. Jameson actually was able to like help coach an American football team. And so he got involved in some ways, and then that helped him a lot too. He had something, because I had volleyball, and so sometimes it was honestly more hard for him because he didn't have, like, he was there for me, but he didn't have a full-time job or something over there. So that helped, and we always just got plugged in a little bit with the community or church or whatever it was, and that helped the transition a lot. My first year in Japan, that was kind of during COVID, and so he wasn't ever allowed into the country, and so it was hard because I had a 6-7 month season and wasn't able. I got to come home for like 4 days over Christmas, but then that was the only time I saw him all season. So that part was hard, just like not a lot of quality time together. But he did know what my life was like, and so if there was a day, I mean, it's a lot of communication basically, and not being afraid to like tell him if I need more from him, like if we just need to arrange some quality time, intentional time, I guess, even if we're apart from each other. That's always important.
So what did you do to pass the time then?
I was like 20 minutes outside of Tokyo when I was in Japan, which was awesome. So I would a lot of times find, like on an off day or an off afternoon, I would go into Tokyo and find like a cafe and bring my Kindle, and just, it was a lot of alone time, but it was actually nice to feel that and like learn how to be okay on my own, I guess. But that was like my thing. I probably went to a new cafe every single time I went into Tokyo, because Tokyo is huge. So,
what kind of books do you read?
I really read every genre. Well, mostly fiction, so not a lot of nonfiction, which I should probably sprinkle that in. Learn something. All
right. It's historical fiction, right?
Yeah. I mean, in the summer, I'm such like a beach read type of person, especially when I'm traveling. It's like I probably read a couple of books every time I'm on an away trip, or like when we're traveling with the national team for 10 days, there's always a couple girls who bring books, and so we kind of rotate them around, and pretty
Justine
lighthearted.
said that, like an unofficial book club that you guys have going on.
Yeah, we've done some really fun book clubs too, where we talk about like hot topics and things like that, and it's a good way to just bring the team together, but also learn something too.
Well, for Team USA, there's a lot of girls your age and around your age, which is amazing. So do you feel that there's just, unsaid kinship because of the experience that you girls kind of went through college around the same time, kind of have played each other, know each other a little bit? Because I feel, looking at social media, there's so much love with you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are always hanging out. So do you kind of feel that just, being together has just brought you together better and made you more of a team because of your age and everything?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Even my first, I still remember walking into the gym my first summer, and it was after college, and there was familiar faces like Annie Drews was at Purdue, and I played against her, Lauren Carlini, Justine. We were all in the Big Ten, and we played against each other, and so it was really sweet to see those worlds collide a little bit and learn them not only as volleyball players, but then learn them as people. And then even overseas, like we would play against each other. I played against Jordan Thompson a lot this year, Ali Franti, like all of these great players. And it's just so nice when you're when you're in another country and you see a familiar face, it's like you like almost immediately start crying because you just can't, it's a piece of home. And then we all come together in the summers, and it's so fun because we do understand how hard this lifestyle is. And like you said, there's a level of kinship and just deep care for each other because of those experiences. So
I gotta ask, because I'm curious. I haven't asked anybody else this, but it just came to my brain. Jordan Larson had been there for a while. And, the governor, one of the greatest volleyball players of all time. Were you starstruck at all?
Oh, totally. Yeah, or in Faluca, there's a lot of big players that I'm like, oh my gosh, I watched you when you were in college, and definitely starstruck, little intimidated, oh, I don't know how to, if I pass Madison, I think I'm horrible, or little things like that. But then also they're just such good people that I feel like that stage passed pretty quickly. And I got to know Jordan Larson pretty well. We play cards. I love playing card games. And one of the first tournaments I traveled on, she always was playing this card game, and I really got to know her playing it. It's like a 4-person game.
What is it?
I actually don't even know who created it. I think it's called Vignette. It's like a... I don't know how to explain it, really. It's been a long time since I've actually
Normal playing cards?
Yeah, playing cards. It's kind of like euchre or hearts. It's like a trick game. Not like a trick, like a magic trick.
Right.
But
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we actually... That's also a thing we do on the road a lot, is play cards. And so, yeah, it was nice. It's just nice to learn about these people off the court who you look up to for so many years on the court.
Are you secretly a hustler at cards? Are you?
I actually am pretty good.
Really?
My husband hates me for it. We always play cribbage. I know that's such an old person game. But that's when we get in fights. Is when we're playing cards.
Have you taken your hand to Vegas and tried your luck?
No. I have not, but maybe someday.
So when I was little, I was dominant at the game Spit. Do you remember that game?
No.
Did you ever play? You never played Spit?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's a little tough to explain. It's it's just two
spit?
people. No, you don't spit. You say spit when you flip the card over. 1, 2, 3, spit. And you turn it. It's like solitaire. You have to put the cards on, and then when your side is done, you slap the shortest pile, and the idea is to lose all your cards.
Oh, fun!
But I dominated at that game. And Rummy 500.
Oh, Rummy's fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You and I should play Rummy 500 because I never lose.
Oh gosh. Now I'm nervous. I do love Rummy though, so.
I think this is some good competition.
Yeah.
On the next episode of Serving Pancakes.
We'll bring it back. That's funny.
So looking at your social media, I feel like, there's volleyball on there, but you're someone actually who has a lot more photos and things about you as a person.
I'm obviously a volleyball player, but I feel like a reason why maybe I'm not so I'm not always posting about it is I feel like I'm just so much more than a volleyball player, and that's kind of where I going more my creative route on social media and things like that. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have, are you a scrapbooker and
no,
stuff,
but I feel like I want to be.
I mean, it's mom vibes, amazing. You are meant to do this. I can feel it. You're going to have the best scrapbook. You're going to be like Leslie Knope with scrapbooks. That's what I imagine. It's just going to be, yes.
Yeah, I do love documenting moments, and I feel like when I look back on my pictures from overseas and things, it's a lot of the people that I'm with, not so much what I'm doing on the court or my successes or things like that. I just love documenting the people, and because I know when I look back on this whole journey, that's what I'm going to remember the most. And volleyball is what got me there, which is amazing. And I obviously love the sport so much, but I'm going to remember the people and just all the relationships.
Amazing. Well, now that you get to play in the States, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I'm looking forward to I'm like 4 hours from Minnesota. I'll be on the Madison team, and my like grandparents live in Madison. Like there's so much just family surrounding me, and excited to like be able to come and watch a live game. I had a lot of family able to visit when I was overseas, but that's like 1 or 2 games. And so just the opportunity to play in front of family and friends again. And in Madison also, I feel like it's a full circle moment for me because I was committed there and to go there in college, and now I'm gonna be there, and my grandparents are really excited, and so that's probably what I'm most excited for. And just women's sports right now in the U.S. is just taking off, and I feel like the timing of this league is so perfect for that, and to be a part of that, and see how volleyball specifically can grow, but also just women's sports in general. It's going to be really, really cool to see it take off, because I have a feeling that it will. So,
oh, for sure. I mean, looking at from when you started club, college to where we are now, did you see that coming, or was it sort of like, wow, I can't believe that this is happening, but I'm so glad it is?
Yeah, definitely the latter. Like I had heard of people who have tried to start a league, but everyone's always like, oh, it's like 1 year and done usually. And so I just never, even in my first years overseas, I was like, it's just not going to happen. And then I started hearing little chitter chatter of things like being brewed up, and it was almost like I was almost skeptical. I was almost like, well, I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing. But then it just when I was sitting in my apartment in Turkey in December, and I was like deciding if I wanted to do it or not, I was like, it would be crazy if I said no. Just being a part of one of the first leagues in the States is such a unique thing to be able to say and do. And so it was like an easy yes for me once I really sat down and thought about it. So,
love it.
Yeah.
So once it's all said and done, once, you decide to be a mom, even if you decide to come back after being a mom, what do you hope your legacy is going to be?
I really want to look back on my career and just know that like I put everything into it, and I like going back to the relationships piece. Like I want to also grow the sport for the next generation, and I think that's what's so cool about Love is they're really partnering with like these young club players, and now they'll have the opportunity to grow up and do what we're doing. And so I'm really looking forward to those connections with the next generation, and like just sharing with them my heart, and then me hearing their heart, and like helping in any way I can to continue to grow the sport, but also grow like personal, just individuals' journeys. So
if you could go back and tell your 12-year-old self something, what would you tell her?
Oh, it's a good question.
Hitting you with the heart.
Making me think. I would tell myself to really be present in the little moments, like even talking with you here and going back to like how I did feel in high school, where I didn't think I had I didn't know what my potential was. And then again in college, I again had that moment where I'm like, oh, am I good? Or like, how good can I be? And then just like being proud of those little moments along the way. And that's what I would tell also the young players now is like, enjoy the moment that you're in. Like, for example, in high school, you're never going to play with your best friends that you grew up with again. And then you get to college and you're like, you're going to, the people you're like that are your year and those experiences, you're never gonna have that again. So just like stay present, enjoy it, and be proud of that, and then move on to the next.
Document it, right?
Yeah, and document it. Exactly.
And the last question I have, where do you hope to see volleyball in 5 to 10 years?
I hope just to see it grow and grow every single year and get like the visibility that it deserves, and just having a professional league is such a great step, but I still think it can, like, my hope is that it just takes off. And like you said, like, I would love to have a baby and have the opportunity to come back and play. Like, even having that option is so powerful. And that's like a goal of mine. And I would love to do that. And just the fact that women were able to have that option of potentially having a child and then coming back and doing this, like playing the sport you love, is so unique and powerful. So
I love it. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. We had cheers to volleyball, to the future, to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching Serving Pancakes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. You can also listen to the podcast version on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.